By every official measure, the economy looks fine. Unemployment is sitting at 4.4%, GDP is still growing. The media keeps calling the labor market resilient. So why does it feel like everything is quietly breaking? Why are more Americans skipping meals, maxing out credit cards, and picking up second jobs just to cover rent? Because the recession isn't coming. It's already here. The government just hasn't told you yet. Here's something almost nobody knows. Recessions are never declared while they're actually happening. The NBER, the official body that calls recessions, waits 6 to 18 months, collects all the data, then announces what you already lived through. The 2008 financial crisis? The recession officially started in December 2007. It wasn't declared until December 2008, a full year after Lehman Brothers had already collapsed and the world was already ending. The 2001 dot-com recession started in March, wasn't declared until November, 8 months later. This isn't incompetence, it's methodology. They require comprehensive data confirmation before they'll put it in writing, which means right now, today, you could be living through a recession and won't know officially for another 12 months. So let's look at what the data is actually saying versus what's being reported. The headline unemployment rate is 4.4%. Sounds manageable on the surface, but here's what that number quietly leaves out. Anyone who stopped looking for work. If you've given up on finding a job, stopped applying entirely, you're not counted as unemployed. You've simply vanished from the statistics. Since the pandemic, 1.6 million Americans have disappeared from the labor force this way. Not employed, not unemployed, just erased from the data. And labor force participation is down 1.5% from pre-pandemic levels. So the headline number looks fine because it stopped counting the people who gave up. Then there's the job quality problem. The government counts a full-time job and a part-time job the exact same way. So when a full-time worker gets laid off and picks up 2 part-time gigs just to survive, the government records that as 2 jobs added, net positive job growth. In 2025, this accounting produced 181,000 net new jobs. But underneath that number, 4.4 million Americans are working part-time because they cannot find full-time work. These people are technically employed. They're also financially underwater. Full-time positions with benefits are being quietly replaced by multiple part-time roles without them. The statistic looks healthy. The people behind it are not. And it gets worse. Cumulative inflation has risen over 25% since 2020. So even the people still working full-time are running backwards. And the way most Americans are dealing with this is with plastic. Credit card debt just hit a record $1.28 trillion at the end of 2025. The average interest rate on that debt is now 22%. People aren't swiping for convenience. They're borrowing to cover groceries, rent, and utility bills. Consumer spending looks strong in the data, but it's not income-driven spending. It's debt-driven spending. And there's a massive difference between the two. The personal savings rate has collapsed from a historical average of 8% to just 4.5%. That gap, the money people used to save but now can't, is going straight onto credit cards at 22% interest. We saw this exact pattern in 2007, right before it all came apart. And the forward-looking indicators are saying the same thing. The leading economic index, the indicator specifically designed to predict recessions before they're officially declared, has declined for 6 consecutive months. That same pattern appeared before both the 2001 and 2008 recessions. Commercial bankruptcies are up 7% and hit 24,000 filings, the highest level in over a decade. The companies that survived on cheap pandemic-era financing are now getting squeezed out. These aren't isolated signals. They're the same constellation of indicators that lit up before every major recession in modern history. So why do the official numbers still look healthy when the economy feels anything but? Because the metrics we use to measure the economy have been quietly optimized to look healthy, not to accurately reflect what's happening. This is called Goodhart's Law. The moment a metric becomes a target, it stops being a good metric. Take unemployment. If you worked 1 hour last week, 1 DoorDash delivery, you're counted as employed. You go in the exact same bucket as a software engineer with full salary and benefits. Take GDP. Credit-driven spending and income-driven spending count exactly the same. Borrowing money to buy things looks identical to earning money to buy things in the data. These aren't measurement errors. They're how the number stays clean while your lived experience tells you something is very wrong. The gap between what the official metric says and what you're actually living through is exactly where recessions hide until they're too obvious to ignore. When the NBER eventually makes it official, it won't be news. It'll just be confirmation of what anyone paying attention already knew. So when the media celebrates job growth, ask about job quality. When they report consumer spending is strong, check the credit data. When unemployment looks low, ask who stopped being counted. There's always more to the story than the headline number. Subscribe because we break this down every week, and drop a comment below. Are you feeling this in your own life? Because the most accurate economic data often comes from the people living in the economy, not from the people measuring it.